All right, you are almost done with level 1. I know most of this has been a review. Here's the slightly new part. Not totally crazy concept, but a little bit different way than we've looked at it before. So we're going to look at these proportional relationships in an equation way. So we're going to start talking about it in words, then we're going to move into an equation. So it should make sense with how we've been doing it. And yes, I know this one looks familiar. We're going to look at this in a different way. So before we were looking at the independent versus dependent variables. Now we're going to take that information and apply it a step further. So you know the problem. I'm going to talk about what we're being asked this time. We are asked to describe in words how the value, so the number, of the independent variable, how it relates to the value of the dependent variable. So basically, like, what's the number situation happening? Like, what's happening each time when you're talking about the independent variable, which is time, to the dependent variable, which is distance. So very simple, and there's several different ways you could say this. I'm just going to show you one, but I'll talk through a couple more. So what we mean is, when you look at the value of y, so distance, okay, it is always 50 times more, right, so times 50, than the value of x, which is time, right? So basically what I'm saying is, if you take the time and multiply it by 50, you will get the distance. Okay, so you could use the wording value of y, value of x, right? Or you could also say the distance is always 50 times more than the time. Okay, that's another way to say it instead of value of y and x. But either way, you're comparing the independent variable to the dependent variable. Okay, so that's how you describe it in words. Now we want to write an equation that expresses this, right? Because we want to know for any amount of hours, what will your distance be? So basically, what are you doing each time? And we just said 50 times. Now, when it says express it in y in terms of x, what that means is you're going to have y equals, and then whatever's happening to x. That's how it will be every single time. You're always going to have y equals, and then what number and operation is happening to x. So in this case, y equals 50 times x, so 50x, right? So no matter what the hours are, which is x, so I could do like 8, for example. If I take that times 50, that will equal my y, which is my distance, right? So like, for example, 1 times 50 gave us 50. 2 times 50 gave us 100. 3 times 50 gave us 150. So the x, whatever that was, times 50 equals y. So that's the equation we would use for any given situation. Okay, let's look at one more, because sometimes they word these just a little bit different. So we're using the water used, well, I'll just explain. So it says the table below shows the amount of water used in gallons in a given amount of time in minutes. So they give us the minutes, they give us the gallons. Okay, so they want us to describe in words how the value of the independent variable is related to the value of the dependent variable. So again, what is happening each time? So when you compare the independent variable, which is time, to the dependent variable, which is water used, we can see that it's times 5 each time. So I'm going to show you one way we could say that. We could say the water used, right down here, is always 5 times more than the time given. Okay? Another way I could say that is like last time. The value of y is always 5 times more than the value of x. So you choose how you want to say it. This is one way, but you could also use value of y, value of x. Okay? And then jumping into the equation, this one just tells us write an equation to show the relationship between the variables, but like I said, it's always y equals and then whatever's happening to x. So in this case, we have y equals 5 times x. Okay, pretty straightforward. I think you could have figured that out, but it's getting to know the wording of what they're asking you, okay? So again, you need to stop and, oops, it said go get your quick check. I mean that you need to, oh yeah, go get your quick check before moving on to level 1 formative. Sorry, got a little confused there. So go get your quick check. Make sure you get that taken care of before moving on to the level 1 assessment. You can do it.